Hello everyone, this is Jan's Mix, and I said to myself, how about sharing how do I feel about a species known as jellyfish? I always liked swimming. I have a positive relation to it. I was even racing in swimming back in elementary school, and in general, I like being in water. However, at the same time, I've got a big respect for the ocean. It covers 2/3 of our planet, goes kilometers in depth, and imagining swimming in the ocean feels so exposed and vulnerable. There are many creatures potentially harmful to humans. However, I personally from an early age have had, I think we can call it a phobia for anemones and even more jellyfish, probably because they are more mobile, and to a lesser extent for sea vines and cephalopods. I just hate the idea of being tangled by something while swimming in water, especially if that something is a living organism that gives you toxic stings that in some cases, depending on the species, can even kill you. Ugh! Now, some people consider jellyfishes fascinating, and I can understand why. They look like from other planets, yet ironically, we're one of the first bigger living organisms here on Earth. They come in different colors, sizes, and some even have interesting shapes. And their appearance of peacefully pulsating in the open ocean might not even seem threatening. But I can't stand it. Once I see a jellyfish with dense tentacles, the idea of being tangled by it gets me and gives me anxiety. As a kid, I couldn't even watch standstill pictures of some jellyfish for more than a few seconds because I thought I would go crazy. And even now, seeing a jellyfish is making me uneasy. And I would seriously rather choose to swim with sharks than with jellyfish. And now, I believe it is reasonable to fear jellyfish. Let's take a look at what makes them dangerous. The tentacles of jellyfish are covered with microscopic spears which get activated when coming into contact with something. Then they penetrate the skin and lodge the venom inside. Even one touch can be harmful, and jellyfishes have them all over their tentacles and more than enough of that venom in their body. Not all the jellyfish species are harmful to humans, but I wouldn't take any chances. And even if I know touching the jellyfish bell is safe, I'll be like, no thanks. Now, as for pop culture, I think it pretty much gave justice to the nature of jellyfish. There is not any movie specifically focused on them, at least I am not aware of it, but they are often portrayed as an element of danger in waters. For example, there is that famous scene from Finding Nemo, and scenes like this might have played a role in my phobia. And the same goes for games. I'm an occasional gamer, and jellyfish also tend to be an enemy in aquatic stages, and a pretty formidable one. In Adventures of Tintin, there is a jellyfish bigger than a human aggressively pursuing you. Like, what the hell? And what is scarier, that although it's not common, a jellyfish this big actually exists. This is a lion's mane jellyfish. It's so gigantic its bell radius can reach 2 meters. Its tentacles truly resemble a lion's mane, and they can grow longer than the length of the blue whale, probably the largest organism that have ever lived. And with those tentacles, it can hunt prey for enormous distances, making it a deadly trap. Those creatures seem soft, but they are also quite surprisingly heavy, and a typical lion's mane jellyfish weighs around 90 kilograms but can reach even 200. It's hard to even imagine something like this. There's this famous picture which I am not sure about if it's real. However, in the ocean's vastness there might be a possibility. There is an interesting case when a pack of Nomura jellyfishes capsized a 10 tons heavy fishing boat as it accidentally caught dozens of them in those nets and ultimately was capsized by their weight. Really, jellyfishes are no joke. Since they were on this planet for hundreds of millions years, they grew to enormous sizes. But that's not everything that is frightening about them. Let's talk about this species. This is called bog jellyfish, also known as sea wasp. It is not particularly big and doesn't look so scary, yet it is considered to be the most toxic jellyfish on the planet. Touching its tentacles is extremely painful and often fatal to humans. Its venom can cause cardiovascular collapse and death within 5 minutes. One jellyfish of this species has enough venom in its body to kill over 50 people. The fact it doesn't look that threatening actually is very transparent makes this creature more menacing, as non-suspecting swimmers won't even notice this jellyfish and end up dying in horrible pain being tangled by its tentacles. What's more, instead of just aimlessly floating in water and randomly stinging whatever comes into the way of its tentacles, this thing is rather an active predator. I'm not sure about how much this is news to you, but some jellyfish species actually do have eyes, and box jellyfish is one of them. Of course, its sight is not as good as mammals. It is mostly able to sense light, yet this species has all around its bell, making it possibly the only organism with 360-degree side angle. And its speed. Mostly, we imagine jellyfishes as slow, however, this one is significantly faster than your typical jelly. It can swim as fast as a human and swim up to 2 meters per second and be in charge of its direction completely. So it's deadly and even fast and can see things. And trust me or not, statistically the biggest killer of humans in the ocean is not the shark, but this. Sharks attack humans pretty rarely, mostly there are like 8 deaths by sharks a year. But as for box jellyfish, it is between 50 and 100 people a year. Well, good luck swimming on the beach without concerns ever again. But unless you're swimming in those areas, this jellyfish shouldn't occur. Although jellyfish's nervous system is primitive, you saw they have some pretty crazy abilities. There is this immortal jellyfish, which is basically what its name is. It can return back to its polyp state and thus reset in the entire biotic cycle. Something like this is unique in the entire animal kingdom. Well, besides reversing death, this species can't really do much though. But imagine, basically an immortal organism. We see that jellyfishes are indeed very interesting creatures, scary and fascinating at the same time. Although I have a phobia for them, I actually haven't encountered many of them in real life. I, of course, live in Czech Republic, which is a landlocked country, but we typically visit the seaside for summer vacation. And once, when I was like 6 years old, I remember stepping on something in shallow water which felt like it bit me. I believe it will be just a sharp stone, but maybe it could have been jellyfish. Also in Greece we were observing from the safe ground those barrel jellyfishes, which were big like a car wheel. Supposedly their tentacles are not dangerous to humans, but as I said, I don't want to touch any jellyfish whatsoever. Also, I visited some of those aquariums, but they didn't have any particularly large jellyfishes either. Oh, and also they haunt my dreams sometimes. But my last real personal contact with jellyfishes is actually quite something. It was when I had my scuba diving exam 2 years ago. That's right, during that time I was attending a scuba diving course, having several lessons in a 5 meters deep swimming pool, and my final exam took place in a flooded mine by the village Výkleky. Czech Republic is of course landlocked country, however, not so many people know that sweetwater jellyfish is also a thing. Although it's rare, they can appear in these lands during summer. They are little, maximum 2 centimeters wide and harmless to humans. However, when I had the exam, the mine was pretty much infested with them. In some areas, they were around hundreds to thousands of them. In the end, I luckily didn't freak out, focused on the correct dive and managed to largely ignore them. Since they were so little, I didn't notice touching them at all, although at times I was basically surrounded by them. It was quite an interesting experience. But trust me, I would never go into that water if there were any large jellyfish, and I hope that I will never be in such a situation. And what's your relation to jellyfishes? Be sure to write in the comments if you also fear jellyfish or find them fascinating instead. And if you have any interesting experience, I will be very curious to read it. Have a nice day.